When I look at all of you today, I'm reminded of something powerful. The world will try to tell you who you are long before you discover it yourself. And in that noise, endless opinions, endless expectations, there's one thing that can protect you, guide you, and shape you into your strongest self. Silence. Not the silence of weakness, the silence of intent, of focus, of knowing exactly who you are, even when no one else does. I've learned that not every battle deserves an audience, and not every wound needs to be shown to the world. When you hold your struggles close, when you choose not to let the world dissect your pain, you reclaim your power. You stop explaining. You stop justifying. You stop shrinking. Because the moment you stop sharing your problems with everyone, you start hearing your own voice, louder, clearer, unstoppable. And that's where transformation begins. Not in the noise of validation, not in the applause, not in the sympathy, but in the quiet moments where you decide who you're going to become. Silence isn't emptiness, it's clarity. And once you master it, your mindset will never be the same again. Protecting your energy through silence is one of the most underrated strengths in a world where everyone is constantly speaking, posting, reacting, and explaining. Silence isn't about muting yourself or becoming invisible. It's about choosing consciously where your energy flows. It's about understanding that your inner world, your thoughts, your dreams, your fears, your plans, is sacred. Not everyone deserves access to it, and not everyone will know what to do with it if you hand it to them carelessly. Silence becomes your shield when the world becomes too loud, too demanding, or too entitled to pieces of who you are. When you choose silence, you choose ownership. Ownership over your emotions, your story, and your direction. There is a different kind of confidence that grows inside you when you're no longer broadcasting every thought that crosses your mind or every storm you walk through. You stop needing validation to stay strong. You stop looking outward for answers that were meant to be found inside. When you hold your process silently, something magical happens. You begin to hear yourself more clearly. The voice inside you, the one that gets buried under other people's expectations, starts to rise again. You start to recognize what drains you and what fuels you. You start noticing whose opinions matter and whose never did. Silence gives you the space to filter, sort, reflect, and grow without interference. People often fear silence because they assume it means isolation. But silence is not loneliness, it is alignment. When you protect your energy, you distance yourself from unnecessary drama, from conversations that go nowhere, from people who only want to take and never give. You begin to preserve your emotional bandwidth for things that actually matter. Not every conflict deserves your explanation. Not every question deserves your truth. Not every person deserves a front row seat to your life. When you understand that, silence becomes a form of emotional intelligence. You stop wasting your breath trying to convince people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop handing out your peace like it's disposable. You stop letting the world drain you through small, meaningless leaks. And silence doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring mindfully. You start choosing what you react to instead of reacting to everything. You start noticing that silence gives you more strength than arguments ever will. Silence helps you observe. And observation is one of the greatest superpowers you can develop. When you listen more than you speak, you learn more. You understand dynamics, intentions, patterns, and opportunities that talkers often miss. You become strategic. You become centered. You become self-aware. You walk into every room grounded because your energy isn't scattered all over the place. It's contained. It's protected. It's yours. Real transformation begins when you're no longer triggered by things that once drained you. When someone tries to provoke you and you choose silence, it's not surrender. It's elevation. You rise above the noise instead of being pulled into it. You decide that your mental peace is more valuable than winning a pointless debate. You protect your heart from people who drain you emotionally. You protect your ambition from people who laugh at dreams they're too afraid to chase themselves. You protect your healing from people who only want the story, not the lesson. Silence becomes your boundary, your filter, your safety, and your strength. Most importantly, when you protect your energy through silence, you start building a world inside yourself that no one can break from the outside. You become harder to shake, harder to influence, harder to discourage. You develop an inner power that is quiet but undeniable, soft but unbreakable, gentle but fierce. And once you taste that kind of strength, You never want to give it away again. Don't overshare your struggles, because the moment you put your pain into the wrong hands, you give away a piece of your power. In life, not everyone who listens is listening to help. Some listen to compare, some listen to judge, some listen to gossip, and some listen simply to feel better about their own chaos. When you share every problem with everyone, you expose your vulnerabilities to people who haven't earned the right to see them. Your struggles are delicate, raw, unfinished parts of you. Sharing them too soon, too widely can make the wound deeper instead of helping it heal. There is a strength in being selective, in knowing when to speak and when to hold your silence. Not all ears are safe, and not all hearts are capable of holding your truth with care. Oversharing can also dilute your own process. When you constantly narrate your problems, you start living them out loud instead of working through them internally. You begin to rely on external reactions rather than your own sense of direction. You become dependent on advice, on sympathy, on emotional rescue from others. But healing is not something someone else can do for you. It's not something that grows in public. Healing is a private evolution. It requires introspection, honesty, and the courage to sit with your emotions without running to someone for a quick fix. When you overshare, you interrupt this process. You scatter the energy you need for recovery into too many places, too many conversations, too many opinions. What should be a straight path to clarity becomes tangled in other people's thoughts, judgments, and projections. There's another truth: not everyone is rooting for you. Some people only want your struggles, not your success. They feel comfortable when you're broken because it makes their own brokenness easier to accept. When you hand out your problems openly, you unintentionally give some people the satisfaction of seeing you weak. You give them access to your insecurities, your pressure points, the places where you feel small. And once those parts of you are exposed, it becomes easier for the world to manipulate your emotions. Silence protects you from this. Silence creates mystery around your challenges. It allows you to grow without being watched, judged, or compared. It's not about hiding, it's about choosing privacy as a form of protection. Oversharing can also shift your mindset from resilience to dependency. Every time you speak about your struggle, you relive it, you reinforce it, you give it more weight. But when you hold it within yourself, you begin to analyze it, understand it, and eventually rise above it. You don't get stuck in the cycle of repeating your hardships. You move into the cycle of resolving them. Silence gives you clarity because it forces you to listen to your own thoughts. It forces you to confront what's really happening inside you rather than drowning. In conversations, you start asking stronger questions. You start finding stronger answers. You start becoming the person who can rescue themselves. Not oversharing doesn't mean you shut yourself off from the world. It means you choose wisely. You choose the one or two people who truly understand you, truly support you, truly want to see you grow. You choose people who offer guidance without judgment, comfort without conditions, love without limits. You share selectively, intentionally, safely. You protect your emotional space because your emotional space determines your mental strength. Your struggles are not your identity, they are temporary challenges. And not every temporary challenge deserves a permanent place in someone else's memory. When you stop oversharing your problems, something powerful happens within you. You stop feeling like a victim of your life and start feeling like the author of it. You stop seeking validation for your pain and start seeking solutions. You stop giving others the pen to write your story and start taking control of the narrative yourself. You develop emotional discipline, you become more focused, you become more resilient, you become the kind of person who grows in silence and shines in strength. Focus on inner clarity, not outer validation, because the world will never stop having opinions and most of them have nothing to do with who you truly are. The moment you start tying your worth to other people's approval, you lose control of your own identity. You begin shaping your life around what they want to see instead of what you want to become. Inner clarity is about understanding your why. Why you act, why you dream, why you react, why you choose certain paths and abandon others. Without that inner compass, you get tossed around by every compliment, every criticism, every expectation. Outer validation is loud, temporary, and constantly shifting. Inner clarity is quiet, steady, and deeply grounding. When you know who you are on the inside, the noise on the outside stops having the power to shake you. There is a freedom that comes when you stop performing for approval. You no longer waste energy trying to impress, convince, or satisfy people who don't even understand your journey. You stop explaining your dreams to people who cannot see beyond their own limitations. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that don't appreciate your magnitude. Validation from others might feel good in the moment, like a quick hit of confidence, but it fades just as quickly as it comes. And when it fades, you're left craving more. That craving becomes a cycle, one that keeps you dependent on someone else's applause to feel significant. But when you focus on inner clarity, you start drawing strength from your own beliefs. You start trusting your intuition. You start becoming your own source of certainty. Inner clarity gives you emotional stability. It helps you understand why certain things affect you and why others don't. It helps you process your fears instead of burying them. It helps you identify your triggers, your patterns, your strengths, your weaknesses. When you know yourself deeply, you stop being reactive and start being intentional. You don't get lost in drama because you can see it from a distance. You don't fall for pressure because you can separate your desires from someone else's expectations. You don't mistake temporary emotions for permanent truths. You begin responding from a place of wisdom instead of insecurity. You begin making choices that align with your goals instead of choices that please the crowd. And the world respects people who know themselves. Clarity has a presence, an energy that doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. When you walk into a room with clarity, you don't need to prove anything. You don't need to justify your decisions or defend your dreams. Your confidence speaks for itself. People feel it. They notice the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you choose your battles. Clarity gives you authority without arrogance. It gives you calmness without indifference. It gives you the kind of strength that doesn't shake under pressure. Outer validation, on the other hand, is unpredictable. It changes with trends, moods, and opinions. One day you're praised, the next day you're criticized. One moment you're celebrated, the next moment you're questioned. If your confidence is built on that unstable ground, your emotions rise and fall with every shift. You stay stuck, waiting for permission. Permission to act, to dream, to grow, to be yourself. But inner clarity frees you from that. When you know who you are, you give yourself permission. You become unstoppable because your direction comes from within, not from the world around you. Focusing on inner clarity is also an act of self-respect. It means you value your own voice enough to listen to it. It means you trust yourself enough to follow your own instincts. It means you believe that your vision matters even if no one else understands it yet. You stop living a life designed by others and start living a life that feels authentically yours. You stop chasing validation and start chasing purpose. You stop seeking applause and start seeking alignment. And alignment always leads you exactly where you're meant to go. Transform pain into purpose, because pain is not just something you survive, it's something you can use. Every struggle, every heartbreak, every betrayal, every disappointment carries within it a lesson, a message, a spark. Most people try to run away from their pain, numb it, hide it, or bury it under distractions. But pain has a way of resurfacing until you face it. When you choose to confront your pain instead of avoiding it, you begin to realize that it isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. It shows you what needs healing, what needs changing, what needs releasing. Pain is the universe's way of redirecting you, reshaping you, and preparing you for a version of yourself you wouldn't have discovered otherwise. The moment you decide to turn your pain into purpose, your entire mindset shifts. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? That simple shift transforms helplessness into strength. Every experience, good or bad, becomes fuel. You begin to look at challenges differently. Instead of breaking you, they build you. Instead of weakening you, they sharpen you. Instead of stopping you, they push you further. And there is a unique kind of fire that grows inside someone who has suffered and risen. It's the fire of resilience, of wisdom, of grit. It's the fire that makes you unstoppable because you've already walked through things that could have destroyed you. Pain also exposes the truth about your inner world. It shows you what you truly value, what you're afraid of losing, and what you've been ignoring for too long. When life forces you to sit with discomfort, you begin to see yourself clearly. You realize your own strength, your emotional depth, your breaking points, and your ability to recover. Pain reveals the depth of your heart, the courage of your spirit, and the capacity of your mind. And once you understand yourself at that level, You start moving through the world with a different kind of confidence. You're not afraid of challenges because you've learned to extract meaning from them. You're not afraid of falling because you know how to rise. You're not afraid of endings because you've seen how they can become beginnings. Transforming pain into purpose also empowers you to become a source of strength for others. The things you've survived can become the hope someone else needs. The lessons you've learned can light someone else's path. The resilience you've built can inspire someone who feels lost. You don't have to announce your struggles to the world, but the wisdom they give you will naturally show. You will speak differently, choose differently, and love differently. You will understand the silent battles people carry because you've carried your own. Pain makes you more compassionate, more intuitive, and more grounded. And from that place, you can uplift others without losing yourself. When you view pain as purpose, you stop letting it define you. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of your circumstances and start seeing yourself as the creator of your transformation. You begin using your experiences as motivation to grow, to build, to evolve. Pain pushes you out of your comfort zone and into your potential. It forces you to confront patterns that no longer serve you. It shows you the people who truly belong in your life and the ones who don't. It encourages you to dream bigger because you've seen how fragile life can be. Pain awakens a drive within you that comfort never will. And as you transform your pain into purpose, you develop a mindset that cannot be shaken. You become anchored in your own growth. You stop waiting for life to be easy and start preparing yourself to be stronger. You understand that pain is temporary, but what you build from it can last forever. You begin walking through life with a deeper sense of direction because your wounds have taught you what truly matters. You gain an inner power that isn't loud or dramatic, but steady and unbreakable. You evolve into someone who is not shaped by their suffering, but strengthened by it. Own your narrative with confidence, because the story of your life is being written every single day, whether you take control of it or not. When you let other people define who you are, you give them the power to shape your identity, your direction, and your potential. But when you own your narrative, you reclaim that power. You stop letting assumptions, judgments, and opinions dictate your worth. You stop allowing your past to hold the pen. You stop allowing fear to write your chapters for you. Owning your narrative means saying, this is who I am, this is where I'm going. And this is how I choose to show up in the world. It's about taking responsibility for the direction of your life. Not because everything has been perfect, but because you've decided that your voice matters more than anyone else's. There is something incredibly empowering about embracing your truth without apology. Most people hide parts of themselves to fit in, to be liked, to avoid criticism. They shrink their personality, dim their talents, and silence their dreams because they fear how the world will react. But when you own your narrative, you reject the idea that you need permission to be yourself. You stop apologizing for your ambitions. You stop explaining your goals to people who don't understand them. You stop defending your choices to those who haven't walked your path. You begin to move with a confidence that comes from authenticity, not approval. And authenticity is magnetic. People can feel when you are aligned with your truth. It commands respect even from those who may not agree with you. Owning your narrative also means embracing every chapter, the victories, the failures, the detours, the mistakes, the heartbreaks, the breakthroughs. Too often, people want to rewrite their story by erasing the parts they're ashamed of. But your past does not diminish you, it shapes you. Every experience you've had has added depth to your understanding, resilience to your spirit, and wisdom to your voice. When you accept your story fully, you stop running from it. You stop being embarrassed by your journey. You stop letting old wounds control your identity. Instead, you begin using those chapters as evidence of your strength. You begin seeing them as proof that you are capable of growth, capable of change, capable of rising again and again. There is tremendous power in narrating your story from a place of intention. When you decide who you want to be and commit to that vision, your actions begin to align naturally. You think differently. You speak differently. You show up differently. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. You set boundaries that protect your peace. You chase dreams that reflect your potential, not your fears. You choose relationships that honor your worth. When you own your narrative, you make decisions based on who you are becoming, not who you used to be. You step into a version of yourself that feels grounded, purposeful, and unstoppable. And the world adjusts to people who are sure of themselves. When you speak with clarity, people listen. When you move with conviction, people notice. When you live your truth unapologetically, people feel it. Owning your narrative doesn't mean being loud, it means being intentional. It means recognizing that every word you speak, every belief you hold, every choice you make contributes to the story you are building. And when you take ownership of that, you stop living by default. You start living by design. Owning your narrative creates a ripple effect in every aspect of your life. It changes the way you handle challenges because you no longer see them as threats. You see them as opportunities to strengthen your character. It changes the way you approach success because you no longer feel undeserving. You understand that you've earned your place. It changes the way you deal with people because you no longer seek approval. You seek alignment. Your confidence becomes quieter but more powerful. Your presence becomes calmer but more impactful. You walk through life guided not by the noise outside, but by the truth within.